Welcome into our overtime segment here at SportsSource.tv. I want to clear something up right off the bat. Well, first of all, we're joined by Chuck Cavaleris, Jimmy Hyams, Mark Pankratz, Bob Hodge, and if we did a wall of SportsSource love, they would all be listed. Last night, we had everyone send me lists on Friday, I think. So I'm printing these things out last night once we figure out what the show's going to be, and it kind of got thrown up in the air when the Manning segment got changed. But there were 10 sheets of 4 names each. I realize now that I printed 9 of those sheets. So we had 36 names, not 40. The 4 who were not listed, Dale Ellis, Todd Helton, Inky Johnson, and Eric Berry, all of whom could wind up pretty high on that list that we showed you during today's show. That's what happens when you're trying to play kindergarten and print and clip 40 names. Sometimes you only get 36. That's on me, not on these guys, all on me. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the lawsuit that we didn't get into earlier. Any points that anyone wants to make, they could jump in. One thing that concerns me about it, we didn't get to talk about it in the show, the Title IX implications. Because if this thing drags out and more people get involved, and you start looking at NCAA issues perhaps, you look at federal issues with the Title IX, that could turn it into a serious thing. The Title IX issues, you would hope that Tennessee is buttoned up. I can't imagine their culture is different, that they don't offer the same types of protections and plans for victims that other schools do. But boy, if they don't, that turns this up to a different degree in my view.
I think you're right, and if you are right, then I would settle. If I violated Title IX investigation policies, I would settle. Florida State did violate them. That's why they settled. One reason they settled. So it's going to be interesting to see where this one goes, what is learned. There wasn't much in there that I read that I wasn't aware of. I think most people would feel that way.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting. And the firm they hired, I'm told, is not one interested in settling. But there are arguments to settle, there are arguments to fight it. So we'll see which way they go.
Well, what we were doing was we were saying what we would do. And I would settle. I just make it go away. And there are people who are like, no, you've got to stand for what's right. It sounds good, but there are a lot of people in this world who settle cases to make them go away.
True.
And here's the thing, for all those people that are saying fight it right now, you're going to have the same people screaming this fall when every game puts up a full screen. Remember the Bruce Pearl timeline graphic? Right. Well, now you're going to get the sexual assault graphic.
But you also, it's like tied into that is like beating up a teammate. I mean, that was on CNN. If that's not true, see, that's what bothers me about some of this is it just gets worse and worse, and it's allegations. And it also, don't forget, it also includes like the district attorney here in Knoxville. You're almost talking like there's a conspiracy why some charges weren't made and why some of these things happen. So I can see what you're saying, but if the truth is on your side and it is not an exorbitant amount, I say fight it and try to clear the name.
Well, and the problem with that is,
But you
I'm
don't
with you.
clear
The problem with the clearing the name part is, unfortunately, society today is more focused on negativity than positivity. So as soon as we'll talk about the negative spin on all this stuff because, unfortunately, more people are worried about how many clicks and views they get than actual facts when they write stuff. And so
depending on who you're talking about.
Right. Well, the negativity part is. And I'm part of the media now, so I'm with them. So the negativity part will be talked about. But as soon as it gets settled, as soon as they are found to be factual, that the university did the right thing, nobody will talk about it.
No,
and so that's why the hard part of just saying, well, yeah, I'm going to fight it till we're blue in the face, but then they keep banging, the university keeps getting run under the car drove over them.
Did Duke lacrosse get their reputation back? Did
No.
the Virginia frat house get their reputation back? That's the issue.
Lacrosse did. You don't?
I don't know if those players did. I think you're always going to, when you Google that story, certain names are going to pop up for now and forever.
I thought the DA is the one that got bashed.
He did get it hammered.
Yeah, which he deserved.
John, one thing to your point, during the show, you showed all the publications, the national publications,
People
where this has been in there.
Yeah.
And it was my own thing, working in the sports department, it would be like a 48-point headline coming out, and we need to change it, and the correction doesn't even get a headline. So
Correct.
You can't change what's already out there. And I agree with that part.
But you can't change what's already out there but you can shorten the lifespan of how long it's out there. That's the reason if I'm Tennessee, if I come back and if I look at things and I say I've got a 70% chance of winning, but this thing takes 2 years, then that makes me go back to thinking, okay, am I better off settling? What's the amount of money I'm going to settle for? I agree with fighting the good fight.
Right, I do too.
But the good fight, you may win it and lose it all at the same time.
Perfectly stated. Perfectly stated. That's exactly the way I feel. Yes, you can win it, but you will have lost it for 2 years before the day the announcement comes out that you win it. And let me make this clear. I don't think that settling is some great win either. I mean, that's bad, but it makes it go away. I think it goes away quicker if you settle. Let me ask you about Dave Hart's reputation. There were issues at Florida State while he was there. You certainly have accusations of, well, they've already settled one lawsuit from people who are saying that they were let go for reasons of their sex, had something to do with the reasons that they were not employed. You knew whoever was the AD that merged those two departments, you were going to have a lawsuit or two. That was just, you should have known that going in. But you have these comments about Dave Hart. Jimmy, I wasn't aware, but you said they painted the rock over on the UT campus with some stuff about Jimmy Cheek.
Yeah, they called it the Cheek List, and it included some not so complimentary things like with checklists for sexual lawsuit and different things that were taking shots at him about a culture of rape on campus. Yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't like Jimmy Cheek and don't like Dave Hart. Again, I will say, you go get back to me with an AD that's liked somewhere, because they're hard to find. Mitch Barnhart, when he got Cal, that was great, and then he went out and got Mark Stoops. Okay, Stoops didn't get it done, so Mitch Barnhart's now dropping down that list again. Jeremy Foley, let's see how it works out with Jim McElwain. That's a tough position, but when it comes to Cheek and Hart, and a lot of people aren't in favor of these guys. There are rumors that Cheek may be on his way out before the end of the year. Dave Hart, at what point does he step down? How does this impact those two specifically? I think it could impact them more than it could Butch Jones, because I think Jones is doing quick, decisive action whenever these allegations are made. But what does it do for the reputations of Dave Hart and Jimmy Cheek? Just the fact that it's out there.
Well, I think one thing that you hit on before with the Von Pearson thing, where he was not proven guilty, but then he was kicked out of the university. And so if Von Pearson comes back and files a lawsuit against the university and wins, that's a shot against the university that could go against Cheek's tenure here. I can go on and on about the athlete difference and the student difference, but I don't. Someone's going to end up rolling if all this stuff keeps coming out. I just think, unfortunately, it's going to lean more towards the Cheek side than it is athletics if football continues to win.
You made a great point in between the show and overtime here, talking about, you look at the percentages on campus of sexual assaults, and then the percentage of a football team in sexual assault is probably, I would want to look, but I'm guessing you're probably right. The numbers probably aren't skewed too far one way or the other.
Well, I have 3 daughters, which means I also have 3 pistols in my house now. But
you're now Bob's best friend.
It's society in general. It's just I think the sexual assault side is just getting a higher percentage, and I think oftentimes we put athletics into this box, and it's different from the rest of the world. Well, I would bet if you looked at the general student population, assaults on campus, they've increased in all walks of life, whether it's whatever department you're in. But I think the student athletes, because they're on TV and all that type of stuff, it just gets talked about more.
Sure.
And it should, right? Because they are the figureheads. They got to take the positive. They also got to take the negative with the positive. But I think those percentages would be going up across the board.
There is a quick reaction. You go out on the message boards, and the reaction was pretty quick. One of them, I told you about it, was, well, look, I'm not going to defend rapists, but hey, if you're a college girl, you got to know not to drink alcohol around football players. Okay, I can see it's a dad giving the daughter advice, don't go to parties and get drunk. But that kind of blame the victim, look, only 2 people in one alleged incident could face criminal charges or could go to jail. After all these things that are tied together, there's still just one case where it looks like it could end up with somebody in jail. That said, that doesn't mean that I think all of these women are making things up. Somewhere between black and white there is gray, and I'm guessing there's a lot of gray in these areas in terms of what one person perceives as rape and what somebody else doesn't. But the immediate response, and you see it at fans everywhere, well, this girl's making it up. I mean, the girl with the Jameis Winston stuff at Florida State, there were a lot of people out, she's just making this up. I hate to see it spun around, and we're careful on this show, and I just wanted to acknowledge that's one thing I'm mindful of when we discuss this. There are people out there who are thinking, it's these chicks just trying to mess up our football team. And I've had athletes who have that kind of a thought, that they're always out to get us.
Sometimes the victims don't come forward because of the repercussions toward them. So there could actually be more sexual assaults out there than are actually reported because they don't want to the grief that comes toward them. And so they transfer and leave, which is unfair to them. So you have some of it both ways. You have some that
That's a
don't
great
report
point.
it, and then you have others that are making false accusations.
Yeah.
Well, and take your orange sunglasses off, and if it happened to a player in red, Alabama,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
what are you saying? Just because it's your team, it don't make it right, or it doesn't make it the victim's problem. It's a problem in general, whether it happens here or at Alabama or anywhere else.
And one of the things I would say is when you look at these cases, some of these were handled by the university rather than by the police. I don't have a daughter. If I did and someone sexually assaulted her, I would not be calling Jimmy Cheek or the student conduct board. I would be calling the police. So that always raises a question mark in my mind, is why wasn't the first call to police? But again, it could be out of fear of what kind of repercussions you will get, who knows. But I do find that to be a little bit of a problem for me.
One quick thing, I think that sexual assault cases should be investigated by the local police or sheriff's department, not the university.
Yes.
But Title IX says you have to. So Title IX requires you to do this. When was Title IX written?
In the 70s?
1972.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe we should update that.
Yeah.
About now.
So I
But that
think that
doesn't-
should go to a different level for these investigations.
But Title IX, you still can go to the police. You don't have to go first to the university.
Right, but I don't even think the university should be investigating them.
At
I think,
all. Yeah,
right,
okay.
that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
the police department, the sheriff's department, whoever, I think they're better equipped to investigate it than typically a university.
And then the university abides
Well,
by
it's
what
not a
they find.
university's
Right.
charge to investigate stuff like that, even though they have been charged
Right.
with it. That's not what they do.
But
No,
you're-
they have
Yeah.
to investigate.
No, but what I'm saying is that's not what they do. They're
That's not what-
educated.
I see.
The
That's not
cops,
the background.
the
Yeah,
cops.
gotcha.
That's what they do.
Gotcha.
Let the pros do that.
Right,
I don't
that's
send
what-
my
yeah,
cops
that's right.
over. I don't send my kids to the cops to get better at math.
I guess the schools would look at it. I guess from a Title IX perspective, it's suggesting that the school may have a lower threshold for what's acceptable and what's unacceptable, I suppose.
Well,
but I agree with you. Let the police decide what this is.
I
And
think
if
if
the police
you're-
say it is or isn't, school abides by that. I think you're right. It's a
If
great
you're
point.
Tennessee, you're heading towards like a zero tolerance type policy if something happens. That if you're in a situation where something like this happens, just like Butch Jones has acted, they may already have that. You're off the team.
Well, you should be zero tolerance anyway for sexual assault.
Well,
if-
exactly.
If you're guilty.
Yeah.
But that's where the timeline gets skewed because look how long it takes to investigate some of these things.
Last point, and we're long. Last point. Talked about this with some former Vols after a show 2 years ago. A bunch of guys sitting around talking about this kind of situation. And their view was, in this day and age, now that you have video cameras in your phone, you get do you consent?
Yes.
Is this consensual? And you have it on tape that she says it's consensual. You have it as consensual. Now, somebody could still come back and say, I was drunk when I did that. But as an athlete, you've also got to look at what kind of situations you put yourself in. Look at the Vanderbilt case. Who didn't look at that and say, boy, this is really messed up. This could go the wrong way. I'm getting out of here. I'm leaving this room. We had somebody on our show who told the story of something was going on at UT many years ago. And they said, hey, come get involved. And nope, went home.
Yep.
Went all the way home. Out of town, went home. And I think more players have to think of it that way and be conscious of this could turn out badly. Whether I think it's bad or not, I'm going to get something on tape of her saying she consents, or vice versa.
I agree.
Anyway,
I actually had that written down.
Well, now I'm scared. All right. Chuck, Jimmy, Mark, Bob, maybe next week we'll talk about some sports in
Yeah,
our overtime
really.
segment. Appreciate it. Although, here we go. If they fight it, we're going to be talking about this for months and months and months.
Fight it.
Yeah, fight it. There we go. We will see you next Sunday, WATE 6 for the Sports Source. Thanks for watching.